not really a question, but when it comes to comic book villains, people always say the Joker or Green Goblin. I say Darkseid is the greatest comic book villain ever. Thank you.
All right. That voice, actually, who here ever saw Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, Space Hunter? Yeah, that's Darkseid's voice. That's the voice. I did that film about 14 years before Andrea came to me. She said, I want you to play this character called Darkseid. I didn't know who the hell it was. And she said, I want the voice of Overdog. So she sent me some shots of she signed some of the layouts for the character. And I went, all right. Because Overdog was, I lied. And it's using the bottom of the larynx. It's a long story, but, you know. If you ever saw it, it's not a bad looking film. We shot it, it was 3D, but when they were putting it in theaters, they didn't put up the proper lenses. So it came unfocused and audiences walked out because the projectors union would not use the lenses that were sent with the film. They would lock the door and put it up with the natural lenses and screw the picture up. But it was Molly Ringwald's second picture, actually. She used to go by, I tell everyone this, she was so young, she used to go by the makeup table, grab a makeup stone, she'd try and give herself cleavage. Because she was, I think she was 13 or something like that, 14 when she did it. I lied. I am your God.
All right, a couple of quick questions. One, did you ever make it to the party on Mars?
Did I what?
Ever make it to the party on Mars? Total Recall. See you at the party, Richter.
You know how many fucking times I've heard somebody say that to me? You moronic individual.
All right, then it's been about 30...
What's the line? All right, you're such a smart ass. What's the line I say before I say that? Come on, you're the big...
Oh, wow. No,
I turn to him and I say...
I don't remember.
Anyone remember? I'm using one of the words. Is he ever going to remember this? And he goes, no. And then I punch him in the face and say, I'll see you at the party.
It's been over
Wait a
30...
second, you got to own this. What's your name?
Ernie, like Bert and Ernie.
All right, Ernie.
I appreciate that. And, you know, it's been over 30 years. Have you decided whether or not you'd want Maverick on your side going into battle?
I beg your pardon? Step away from the mic. Just back up for the mic.
In Top Gun, when Viper asked you if you'd want Maverick on your side, you delivered the iconic line, I just don't know. So I figured 30 years later, do you know?
I think it's 40, actually.
40, yeah. Would you want him on
Are
your
you
side?
asking a goddamn question or what?
Would you want Maverick to fly with you?
Tom and I actually, it's kind of a piss off. We've tried to do a film, 3 different films, and Jester and Maverick are so identifiable together. There's no way we can do it.
Yeah.
You know, there's about 2 or 3 we've tried to, a couple of his sci-fi ones and stuff. But no, he's a good guy. He's a real professional too. He's really, he knows not only your dialogue, he knows his own and everybody's. He's a good guy.
You're amazing in Nobody. I love seeing you there, and I'll step off.
If you get the Blu-ray of Nobody, we shot, it was originally going, who here remembers what the Walter Mitty is? Does anyone know what Walter Mitty is?
Secret Life.
The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It's a short story, actually, short novella, I think from the 40s. Danny Kaye actually played the original character in a movie. And it's about a guy who's daydreaming on the way to work. And he dreams that he's a special agent, he dreams that he's in the war, and he dreams that he's a romantic guy. That was the whole idea of the film with Bob. And halfway through, it was supposed to be a comedy. And Bob said, I want to change this. I want to be a real action character. Originally, it was him on a bus dreaming about being different characters. And he said, nah, I think I want to change this. And he was one of the producers. And usually if you're like halfway on a journey to somewhere, you don't change directions because you can get lost. But he did a real good job. And so if you ever get the Blu-ray, all the scenes we shot before they changed direction are on the Blu-ray. You know, I played his father-in-law, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, or his brother-in-law. We did all the family shots and stuff like that.
Yeah, father-in-law, yeah.
All right, now bugger off. Go on.
All right, perfect. All right, can I give you a fist bump?
No.
Worth
Come here,
asking.
come here. What do you do for a living? Of course.
Hi, I'm Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hi. You know, you said you lived here a long time, but I still hear the host and a boot, and so.
It's not a boot,
Oh,
you
it's not a
fucking
boot?
idiot. Say, how do you,
It's a bout.
when somebody pinches you, what do you say?
I say.
You
ouch.
say ouch, right?
Sure.
Like ouch, right?
Ouch.
Ouch is like,
Ouch.
that's the way Canadians say it. It's out
Ouch.
and about.
About.
Not out in a boat.
Oh, okay.
You sound like you got them, never mind.
I don't have a Canadian accent. My question though is,
No, I never said hey or a or any of that shit. My dad wouldn't allow us to.
in Total Recall, how was Arnold? Was he a diva? Was he a great guy to work with?
No, he's an absolute pro.
Can you
He's a good
dish?
friend.
Can you dish on Arnold?
Beg your pardon?
Can you dish on Arnold, on off the set?
What the fuck are you asking? I don't.
I mean, is there?
Look, Arnold's a professional. That character you see him playing, he speaks 6 or 7 different languages. You know, I was sitting in, we were having lunch one day, and a lawyer came in from LA. We shot the whole film in Mexico City in the old Churubusco studios. And he was going through real estate, and I looked over, and it was in German. It was not in Austrian, not in French, but he was looking at real estate, and he was going through with a pencil. And he went, look, he said, I pay you a lot of money to do this. Take these back, get this corrected, and if it's not done in 24 hours, I'll sue you and get another lawyer, and I'll get the hell out of here. He's a very smart man, very, very bright, very well educated. He says, if people are going to treat me like an idiot, let them. It's their dime. So I'll play it. I'll tell you something about him that's great. We were on that film for 6 months, and my sister had cancer. She's up in Canada in a little town called Peterborough. She was in the hospital. And every day at lunch, I would run off. It's okay. He's allowed. He has no set of wheels. And every day at lunch, I'd run up to the production. This is pre-cell phones and all that shit, right? So I'd run up to the production office at the studio and call my sister and see how she's doing, 2-3 times a week. And Arnold said to me, he said, what are you doing? Where do you go at lunch? And I said, I told him. He said, oh, let's go have lunch in my trailer. So we went over. And because he was married to Marie in those days, he had a tax phone. He had a military tax phone. And he said, let's call your sister. What's her name? So he called. I said, hi, Wendy. And she went, well, this sounds weird. Where are you? And I said, oh, I'm in Arnold Schwarzenegger's trailer. He's got a phone here and stuff like that. And she goes, yeah, right. And I said, no, I really am. And he said, give me the phone. So he got on the phone. He goes, hey, Wendy, you got to do this. You got to do that. You know, I know some doctors. What kind of can? And he stopped me and went, what? And he handed me the phone back. And my sister says, who the fuck is that? And I said, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. She said, give him the phone back. So they talked for about 40 minutes. And he talked about doctors, and he talked about different treatments for cancer and stuff like that. And I thought that was very cool, you know. What I didn't know, and he never told me, and for the next, I think it was 2.5, 3 weeks, while my sister was in the hospital. She recovered, by the way. She's still alive. He called her every day at lunch. Every day. Give her a little pep talk, see how she's doing. He recommended some doctor. He got to talk to her doctor, recommended some oncology doctors in Southern California that they could talk to. That's the kind of guy Arnold is.
Great.
Now, when his kids were born, we have a tradition in our family. We give saplings, little pine saplings to the family, right? And they plant them. So when his first 2 kids were born, I don't know anything about the bastard, but the first 2, I gave these little pine things, and I think about 4 years ago, he sent me a video, and he says, hey, Mikey, look at the kids are growing, and now the trees are almost 2.5 stories high. He planted them outside his house and stuff. So Arnold is not he's a very, very clever, very smart, actually quite a warm, wonderful human being.
Thanks for your time, Michael.
All right?
Hi.
Funny to get applause for that, though. Isn't it weird? Yeah.
Hi, I was just wondering how you feel
I
about
love this woman's hair color. My wife's been trying to get it for 5 years,
I was wondering how you
and
feel
it's
about
natural.
the difference
I asked her.
Hi, how you doing, Michael?
Hiya.
How you feel about the difference in the way that live action movies used to be filmed to all the CGI today?
There's a big thing going. I can't really address CGI because it's used a lot, and I've used it a lot. We use it. One of the first things we ever used was on Total Recall. In those days, it was called a green screen, and they had to light balance it, so it was almost 120 degrees in the studio. Like when you see that scene with Cohagen's office and stuff, we would do one take, and then we'd have to change our clothes because it was so hot. You know, and I think I had 7 different leather jackets and stuff like that, and I'd go change, offset, and come back on because, you know, you're sweating our asses off in those scenes. But when it comes to AI, a lot of people have asked me what are my opinions on AI and stuff. AI is fine, but there's no way it's ever going to come up with organic reactions to things. Every one of us is different. Everyone processes emotions different. Everyone hugs their kids different. Everyone tells them a story different. And there's no way that that a non-human, non-organic machine is going to be able to replicate that. It might be able to replicate, you know, actions or things like that. But when it comes down, every actor has a different reaction. You know, go see Hamlet by 6 different actors, and you'll get 6 different Hamlets. You know.
Thank you.
Okay. I should get a picture of your hair. Tell my wife, there it is.
How's it going? I'm just wondering what the story is of how you came to play the role of Sam Fisher, if there was anything that stood out, like any stories from that time, and if you ever plan to reprise the role.
You got like 2 hours or something like that? That's a lot of fucking information. No, the original, I had no idea what video games were. I was doing a TV series about the origins of the 81 motorcycle group, and it was called Last Chapter. It was before all this tits and leather and high bars and shit. But it was 81, Hell's Angels, one of the biggest corporations in North America. They might even own some of this hotel. But I was doing that, my agents called and said, somebody wants you to narrate a video game. And I went, no, okay, I'll talk to them. And I thought, you know, like it was Pong, like beep, 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 beep. I thought, sure. And then they sent me over this script, and I looked at it, and I went, it was 5 nerd techno geeks, right, in a room somewhere that had written this script, and it was really bad. And I thought, how are they going to do this? And then they showed me some storyboard of the character. I said, I don't want to do it. And they said, why? What's the problem? You know, why don't you want to do it? And I said, because it's horrible. It's ridiculous dialogue. And they said, well, we don't know anything about dialogue. They were a company called Ubisoft. They had a floor and a half in a building on Saint Laurent in Montreal. That's on Saint Laurent Boulevard or street, I don't know. And they said, well, what would you do different? So I rewrote the script. And you know, with video games, the actual character is only about 10% of the game. 90% is technology. So they let me rewrite the character. They let me rewrite Sam. And I created him very much like I did the character in, like Hal in Visiting Hours. You know, Hamilton Tyler. Somebody couldn't give affection. Somebody couldn't accept affection. Because they told me, I said, if this goes anywhere, they said, yeah, we're going to have his family killed. And I said, well, that fits this, and that's the way I wrote the character. So I did the character, and one of the things they allowed me to do was to help cast it. So I chose some of the actors in Montreal to do the reading, and I had them let us rehearse. Because when you're doing video games, a lot of time you never get to meet anybody. You know, in your own sound booth. Like I did, I think the 3rd one of Splinter Cell, I did it while I was in Hamburg in a sound studio in a little box. But they gave me opportunity to meet the actors, choose the actors, rehearse so we all knew our characters and stuff. And then, you know, never thought anything about it. I didn't think it was going to run 5 or 6 games. You know, I actually didn't want to do it, you know, but my wife saw the offer. She said, you're doing it. we need a new truck.
Any plans to go back to the role?
No, they actually sold it. I handed it off to an actor to play Sam. Look, when they started doing motion capture, right? I'm 76 now. They started doing it when I was 70. That's what I think it was 5-6 years ago. I'm way too old to be wandering around in a bodysuit with little things on it and a fucking camera on my head, doing all this motion capture shit. And I had just gotten over my 3rd bout of cancer, and I just didn't want to do it. So I chose the actor to do it. I said, here's who you should get to replace me. Because I knew his mother had been an actor. And he didn't know I'd chosen him, right? So I go to the set the first day of the shooting, and I said, hey, and they were doing all the press. Sam passes off Sam to this. And I said, come here, I got some stuff I want to share with you. And he said, don't worry, I've got it. And I went, what? He said, it's my character now, fuck off. He had no idea that I'd chosen him. And the producer said, do you want? And I said, no, leave it. And I went up to him and I said, maybe we'll sit down and have a talk someday, but do a good job. And he bollocksed it. He made a mess of it. He tried to reinterpret Sam. I'm actually supposed to do one of these Comic-Cons with him later on this year. I haven't seen him since that conversation, so it'll be interesting. But no, they sold it to Netflix. After it kind of took a dive, I played Sam on one of the other games of theirs. They made so much money on Splinter Cell, they ended up buying that building. They had the 4.5 in. Then they bought the building beside it. Then they bought some real estate in Toronto, and then another acre in Los Angeles. You know, the 5 original owners, I think 3 of them live on islands in the Singapore archipelago. The one guy that shows up all the time, the one owner, Stefan, really a creative genius, I think, when it comes to this stuff. He's still very much in charge of that. But here's another one do you want to hear something I'm pissed off about? Unions. I'm a union guy. But when I met with them and they let me rewrite the script and like that, I said, they were a limited company. They weren't public. They had limited shares between the 5 owners. And they said, we're thinking about maybe going public if this works. I said, I'll tell you what, take this chunk of money back and I'll take 20,000 shares in the company. How's that? Because they had 100,000 shares. And they said, that'd be great, because they didn't have a lot of money in those days, right? Something I said? God bless you. And so, is that your sister? That's even funnier? Oh, really? Good genetics. Yeah, you thank her. And so I called the union and said, this is what I'm going to do. This is the chunk of money they want to pay me. I'm going to take this chunk in shares. And they said, you can't do that. They called SAG, right? And the Screen Actors Guild. And I said, what do you mean I can't do that? And they said, how do we measure us getting residuals or anything? I said, it's a goddamn video game. It's probably a one-off anyway. And they said, no, we just cash. And I went, all right, well, fuck you, I'll do it under ACTRA, because it's in Canada. ACTRA is the Screen Actors Guild in Canada. And they said, if you do that, we'll kick you out of SAG. Literally, right? So they forced me to take the cash. So after the 4th game, I bumped into Stefan. I was in Amsterdam in the airport. And he goes by, Michael, how are you? And I said, great. He says, it's so funny, I just ran into you. I ran into you, we were doing the numbers the other day. And I said, don't show me. And he said, no, you got to know, because when we went public, that 40,000 shares, you know what that would be worth now? And I went, don't tell me. And he said, no, 7.5 million, it was pretty. And I went, Stefan, I'm going to walk away. The kicker is, 2 years ago, one of the SAG reps, one of the younger people, called me up and said, we're looking over that proposal you wrote up 25 years ago, and we're thinking about doing that. 25 years later.
Hey man, you should get that money, those games.
No, but it was great to get acknowledged for it. So I sent them all my notes on it and stuff. I don't believe in resentment. I really don't. It's like, resentment means to refeel something over and over and over again. Life's too short to do that. But I'm glad that some other actor. Anyone know what this carpet is? The Shining, yeah. Kubrick had 5 different types of carpet for that, and he chose this. There was one that was zebra striped, another one looked like the SS insignias. How can you argue with a Kubrick, right? He's a genius. Scary carpet. But does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Netflix has actually put out a live series of it. They shot it in South Africa during COVID, and Leif Schreiber is playing Sam. So I think it was supposed to be last fall, and now they're talking about releasing it this fall, so. All
So
right.
watch it. Thank you.
All right, we have another question there.
Hey, how you doing? If anyone doesn't know, this man has had cancer, all right? It's bone and show me the question. Here. Who was the director you had the most fun working with, and what was your favorite project to work on? I'm not going to fucking tell you that. I've done, because I've done 330 films. I pick, so one guy is my favorite, I'm going to piss all the other guys off. I might work with them again. No, it isn't. I got to work with those people again. It's a good question, though. I don't have a favorite. When people ask me what's my favorite project, I always tell them the next one. Does anyone here know who Aleister Crowley is? Yeah, you with a strange head makeup. Of course you do. Aleister Crowley, anyone? Yeah, The Beast, 666. Yeah, there's a In Search of Aleister Crowley is a film we're going to shoot it this fall in Venice, Sicily, and Malta. And Aleister Crowley was a very full-bodied man, and I'm going to get to play him. No. The money's not in escrow yet, so don't clap. But I had cancer. My fourth one was follicular lymphoma, 18 tumors. I'm 18 months clear of it now. But during it, the Rituxan, the chemo that I was on and stuff, I put on 165 pounds, and it destroyed my metabolic rate. I have no metabolism. It also wiped out my lymphatic system and all. You hear that too, right? Oh, good. I'm a child of the 60s. But, I'm finally going to get something that fits the body weight I'm playing now, because Aleister Crowley was a very full-bodied man. The interesting thing about him is that a lot of people think he was a fool. He was a sorcerer and a mystic, one of the original mystics. And he made a fool of himself on purpose in the early 1900s so he could be a spy for the British during the First World War. He was down in Spain and he did a lot of stuff. He was part of the original SAS. But Aleister, I'm going to have fun with this, I think, if we get to do it. It's called In Search of Christine Crowley, his daughter. And my grandfather knew him. Yeah, my grandfather was a member of the 101. Does anyone know who the 101 are? All right, you get to learn something. The sci-fi magazine and sci-fi books and stuff like that were not acceptable in the 30s and the turn of the century. It was not thought as legitimate literature. So all the guys who were writing sci-fi would get together and then they would trade short stories and novels and stuff like that. People like A.J. Vaught, Heinlein when he was a young man and stuff like that. And there was 101 of them. My grandfather was one of them. My grandfather, Finley Ironside. He was an electrical and a chemical engineer, and mechanical and electrical engineer. And for example, I read Dune from a shoebox, an old mimeograph. You know the old mimeograph machines? Some of you guys aren't old enough to remember what that is. And on the cover it said, "Jock, see if you can find any bugaboos in this, Bobby." And my sister, I think my sister has it now, but we passed it around. Anyone here read Dune, the book? Yeah, the original, the ecologist, my brain just went. Huh? What? Yeah, it's actually a he. In the movie, it's a she. That was a much bigger character in the book. It also freaked me out. If you ever read the book, it's written in first person by the ecologist, and halfway through the book he dies, and it switches over to a pejorative kind of narrative, But Oh, Jesus. All right. Did you read the Starship Troopers book before? Yes, my grandfather gave it to me when I was about 11 years old. He said, here, read this. He gave me Stranger in a Strange Land. If you haven't read that, that's a fairly good book. And then he gave me Starship Troopers, which is a very right-wing kind of Nazi, manifesto, that book. And for anyone who doesn't know, the author used to dress in kind of Ethel Merman gowns. You're probably too young to know who Ethel Merman is. He was a cross-dresser. He thought if you aren't willing to kill for your country, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. And am I boring you? No, not you, the yawn. Your dad's dragged you to all these, right? You're guilty. And so he was very, very right-wing and very, very pro-Nazi. He wrote a book right after called The Citizen's Handbook, where he puts out a manifesto that if you're not willing to kill for your country, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. So I asked my grandfather, why are you giving me this book to read? He says, you have to be careful. Just because it's published doesn't give it authenticity, doesn't give it weight. Everything has to be judged. Everything has to be experienced. Anyway, enough lecturing. Next. Here's a fine head of hair.
Did this morning. My question is, you voiced a couple game characters, stuff like that, like Sam Fisher and Splinter Cell and stuff like that. Have you ever actually played the games?
No, I'm not a gamer. My idea of games is chess.
Never thought.
Marriage. Fatherhood. No, I'm not much of a gamer.
No.
No.
And then-
in competitive chess, I can make 8 moves, maybe 8 or 9, which is pretty good. I never got to. I'd go into chess tournaments, and there was always some kid with a runny nose that was better than me.
And then I got another question. You've read the Starship Troopers books and stuff like that, and you also, when you voice acted in the movie, did you judge like the different script differences for a whole bunch of different let me rephrase that. Like,
I'll get a cup of tea out while you're thinking about it.
the story is like similar but very different. Like Dizzy is a guy that dies in the first chapter in the book, and then in the movie he's just a romance or one of the romantic interests and stuff like that. Is there anything like any other differences that you liked or hated about whatever?
Again, I can't take responsibility for any of that. Look at Paul Verhoeven, I did Total Recall with. He's a brilliant director. I've done like 330 films. And I always say there's about 5 directors I call artists. And artists, and you've probably heard me say this before if you ever heard it, artists are somebody who come up with an idea, concept, they put it through a medium and into the audience's mind with the least amount of distortion. Now, Paul's an artist. Nothing is on that screen that he didn't allow to happen. Nothing happens outside of his control. There's been 5 people over like all those films, like David Cronenberg's another one. A guy named, I better stop there because anyone I don't mention will get pissed off. But because most films are like, how they say it takes a town to raise a child? Well, it takes a town to make a film too. It takes everyone, the crew and everyone has their thing. But with Paul, I asked him when we did it, I said, why are you doing this? And he said, you're questioning me? Because he offered me the character after Total Recall. And I said, yeah, it's a right-wing Nazi piece of bullshit. And he was raised in the post-war World War II in the Netherlands. He once told me that a game they played when they were kids was they would find 88 shells, like tank shells in the field, put their foot on it and hit it with a hammer. That's some serious, children that are raised in a war-torn area have a completely different sensibility to the idea of it, and it shows in his work. So he said, so you're questioning me? Why am I doing this? I said, yeah, I don't want to be a part of some right-wing manifesto. He says, I'm going to do this film. He says, I'm going to make a world that is beautiful. The architecture is beautiful. The men and the women are beautiful. They're all perfect, but it's only good for killing bugs. And I said, I'm in. That's the absolute truth. It's like perfection is really overrated. And it's very right-wing.
Thank you.
All right, we have another question back there.
Hello again.
What's your t-shirt say?
Conageddon. It's from the 100.
Oh, how you doing, eh? You're not a Southie, are you?
No, I'm Canadian.
Beg pardon?
I'm Canadian.
So am I.
I know, because we're the
But you got a
best.
Boston fucking t-shirt on.
That's
I'm
where
allowed
the
to ask.
convention
I'm allowed
was.
to ask.
That's where the convention
Where in
was.
Toronto are you from? Oh, that's right.
I'm not Toronto, I'm Hamilton.
Oh, that's right. We talked yesterday.
Yes, you dumped
She
your
lives
car
in
in
a
the
town
lake.
that's a little west of Toronto. I'm from the east end of Toronto. I told her this when we were kids. If the girl said, "Kiss me where it stinks," we took her to Hamilton.
Yeah. It's a steel city.
Not too much anymore.
No,
Why
not
I got that
anymore.
name is Hamilton was a steel city, and all the
Steel
furnaces
mills.
and stuff, and we would get all your
Polluted air.
filth. Yes.
Yeah, we lived in it. Yeah. I'm just
Question?
wondering if you could tell some stories about V.
But V,
Yeah, that was my
I had
favorite
I had
children.
such a crush on Faye Grant.
Me
Oh.
too.
Well, that's another conversation.
Yes.
I had, oh my God, she was engaged to a guy, and I don't know if I should talk about it. Oh, fuck it, I don't. She was engaged to it. This is back in 1984.
Yep.
And she was engaged to this guy, and she broke up with him, and it kind of messed with her a bit. And we got to talking and hanging out together on the set, and stuff like that. And we dated for about 2 weeks. She joined, and I don't want to mention it publicly, but she joined a kind of like support group, you know. And I had just gotten sober. I've been AA for like 42 years, so
Congratulations.
you know. No. Hold on. I needed to get sober. You know,
Still,
anyone
the fact
that
that you stayed
anyone that
sober
needs
is
to get sober,
congratulations.
point them at AA. There's nothing wrong with that. It's called stimulus augmentation, by the way, and it's good for drugs too. But so we didn't. She was in this support group, and I was in AA, and it didn't really match up. We're
No.
good. We're good friends and stuff, but she ended up going back with that guy and marrying him, and later on divorcing him. Faye, if you're watching this, I apologize. So, V. Some of you guys I've told, the original character was supposed to be in a wheelchair.
Oh, really?
And it was my first job. I came down from Canada, and they'd offered me this job. The writer of the second miniseries of V, before the series, was also the writer of a film called Visiting Hours. And he got in touch with me and said, they want you for this. So I came down from Canada. And the original character, Hamilton Tyler, was in a wheelchair. And I told him, I said, fuck you, I ain't doing it. And they said, why? I said, my name's Ironside, and you want to put me in a wheelchair? And they went, oh, well, we never thought of that. Don't you want to do it? I said, no, I don't want it. And my friend, the writer, I don't want to use his name because he might not remember the story the same way. But he said, no. He said, we can work on it and change that. And he said, all right, take a week and go out to Palm Springs. There's a health resort there and stuff like that. It's called Two Bunch Palms, and it's still there. It's not as good as it used to be. And he said, take a week, go out to Palm Springs, get away from everything, and come up with an answer. And I'm a writer, you know, and Dick's a writer. So we're driving out. He had his car, so he said, park your car, and we were driving out. And by the time we got to the suburbs of Los Angeles, I had already suggested how to play, you know. I said, why don't we make him like
A mercenary.
well, no, Hamilton, you know, somebody who lost his family.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to give love or accept love. He's just, it's great. It's a line from, there was a line from a film a long time ago. It's a German film where the guy said, I'm like a weapon that's been fired so many times. I'm firing by myself now.
Yeah.
And that was the basis of Hamilton Tyler for me.
Yeah.
So Vic says, hey, well, that's a good idea. We can go through it. I said, yeah, so let's go back. He said, screw you. They're paying for a week in Palm Springs. We're not going to solve this till Sunday afternoon.
Exactly.
So we did. We sat around in Palm Springs for a week.
Yeah.
But it turned out pretty good. That was a pretty good character.
Him and Julie were my favorite characters.
And I'll tell you, how many people remember V? Do you remember when the alien baby was born?
Yep.
They had 3 different versions of it. They brought it to set, the special effects guys did. There was one that was great. It was like, you know, it was like the thing coming out of the chest in Alien. It was really cool. And then there was a mediocre one, and then there was this. They made one as a joke.
Yeah.
That's the one the studio chose. The special effects guys to this day wish they had never shown that.
Yeah. No, they shouldn't have.
Because they had the other two were so horrific. They were great, you know.
Yeah.
And to have Jenny Cook, have it turned into Jenny Cook is just great, you know.
Yeah.
She was a lot of fun too. So
That's good.
yeah, Jenny Cook. If you ever shoot in V, she was the alien child, half human, half that. She married the guy that does Celestial Teas.
Oh Lord.
You know, so you whenever there's some brands that's Jenny's favorite on the boxes and stuff. That's Jenny Cook.
That's
From that.
awesome.
She once said to me, I said, she came from a fairly wealthy family. I said, what are your aspirations? She went, oh, I don't know. I think I'd like to find somebody who's got, you know, some safety about them and they feel strong about themselves and they got a lot of money. And then that'd be fun. Well, she found him.
Did you and Mark Singer get on?
No, not at all.
No?
I think Mark, because I can't speak for Mark. It was like water and oil, the two of
So
us.
it was perfect for your characters then.
It was perfect for the characters. He actually cracked 2 of my ribs.
Oh, that's
The
nice.
lighthouse sequence in the first miniseries, when we're fighting in front of that lighthouse,
Yeah.
I've done a lot of action. I said, let's do the rehearsal. And he said, no, I don't. No. He said, we walked it through. And I said, well, let's just do 1.5 speed. And he said, no, I don't make mistakes. And I went, fuck.
You knew you were going to get hurt.
Yeah. And there's one where he throws a right hook to the body, and he was not in the right position. He caught me right under the rib cage, cracked 2 of my ribs. And
Yeah, I wouldn't have been his friend after that.
well, it kind of shocked him because I think when he made contact, he realized I literally jumped. I came up and grabbed him right by the throat. I had a handful of skin and I could hardly breathe. And he was all apologetic, but we did rehearse all the fight scenes after that. But,
Yeah.
But no, Mark. I think Mark. I don't mean to speak for him. He was wonderful in that character.
Yeah,
Absolutely
he was
wonderful.
perfect.
And
He was probably my least favorite character.
that's not got anything to do. But he was really good in that character.
Yeah.
And.
Not because
But
of
I
that.
think he felt threatened by me being there because Ham got so much attention when he came on the show.
Yeah, I never liked Mike.
Huh?
I never liked Mike. Never liked that character. Donovan, never liked him.
Well, I'm not going to pick sides on that.
Nope.
That's your prerogative.
Yeah, no.
He did
Tyler
a
and
wonderful. He
Julie,
did a
they're-
wonderful job on that character.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he had a heavy mantle of responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit up here and
Nope.
shit all over Mark Singer.
I don't expect you to. No, I just.
How could I do that? Face stood
Yeah.
right beside him.
Yeah. Yeah. You.
There's a great picture of the crowd. We did the photo shoots, you know, the press release
Yes.
when we did V, and we're all lined up in front of one of the
Yeah.
starfighters and all this shit.
Yeah.
And you can tell because I'm standing beside Faye, and I look like a little kid, and I'm like this. I'm like, and she's beside me. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next question coming on up.
Did that make sense? That story?
Yeah, perfect sense.
How could anyone not like Faye Grant? You know? Oh,
Is this a good distance?
step closer to the mic.
How's that?
What did you say?
I wasn't sure if I was close enough to the mic. Google will tell you that your name is Frederick Reginald Ironside.
It's actually Frederick Reginald Luther Ironside.
So how did you come by going by Michael?
I wasn't. I was called Mike. Nobody in my family's called by their real name. You want to hear some of this shit? My Uncle Bill's my Uncle Samuel. My Uncle Jim was my Uncle Bill. They're all brothers. My mom had 18 brothers and sisters. My Uncle Joe was the only one that was called by his real name. My Aunt Doll is my Aunt Elizabeth. My Aunt Kathleen is my Aunt Toots. My Aunt Diane is Di. Like, yeah, that's close enough. I was born out of wedlock. Does anyone know what that means? I'm a bastard. My mom's father didn't want my mom hanging out with my dad. They're from the same neighborhood, working class neighborhood in the east end of Toronto. And my mom, June, her name, they fell in love, and he wouldn't grant them permission to get married. And my dad ended up working in a Ontario hydro camp for about 2-3 years in northern Ontario. And my mom was living under her father's roof at the time. She was 19. She left and went to her oldest sister, Winnie, and Jean, the two older girls, and living there and had me. And when I was born, my Aunt Jean came out. My mom's mother died the week I was born, and she had a nervous breakdown. This is from what we can gather. 1950 didn't have nervous breakdowns. They just, she's a little off, you know. But my Aunt Jean, evidently when my mom had me, my Aunt Jean came out of the delivery room and said, yeah, she's nuts. She wants to name him after him, and that was her husband. And his name was Frederick Reginald Luther Lake. You know, and everyone went, ooh, God, of course she's crazy. Who would name that child? On top of that, they used forceps on me. So my head looked like a peanut. And they were all looking at me in the nursery and said, this kid's going to have a hard time, you know, because my head was all misshapen. And they said, we can't call him Fred. So they all discussed it, and one of them said, I remember June talking about Mike. And they said, yeah, she talked about Mike. And one of the other sister's son had been run over in a parking lot somewhere, and his name was David. So they said, yeah, that all makes sense. So they signed it Mike David Ironside. Mom got out of the hospital 2 months later, and she signed everything Frederick Reginald Luther Ironside. I got 2 birth certificates. Mike David is never allowed to drive in North America ever again. Frederick has a perfect driving record. Yes, my legal name on my passport is Frederick Reginald Luther Ironside. But nobody calls me Fred. If you call me Fred, it's I knew you from high school, because I lost Mike's ID when I was in high school. So we took Fred to the school, and people would say, hi, Fred, haven't seen you in years. I go, oh, hi. What grade were we in together? You know.
And you said it was your father or your grandfather that gave you the book to Starship Troopers when you were young?
Starship Troopers, my grandfather.
So what did being able to be in the movie years later mean for you?
Good paycheck. No, look, I don't. This is hard to. I know as an audience, and I'm not putting that down. I choose work based upon the script, then who's in it, like who's directing, who the other actors are, then the location, then the money. Money's last. You know, I've been afforded the privilege of doing a lot of work, and I don't give a shit about money. I really never have, and never, you know, working class family. I had my first job when I was 12, cleaning factories at night. So it's never been important. I was a writer. I took acting lessons to help my writing, and I ended up being writing and directing and acting and all that stuff. I love what I do. My dad once said, Mike's run off and joined the circus. And I think he was accurate about that, you know? So it's, you know, a question like that, it's like the quality of the character. I turned down jobs, I'm not bragging about this, I turned down because I don't know how to create something real under it, you know what I mean? Because the writing is so poor. I also don't like playing miscreant type characters that benefit by their behavior. Most of the bad guys I play end up dying based upon their behavior. You know, I've turned down a few roles over the years that they benefit by what they did. And I think that's the wrong message to send out there, you know. And no, I do it because I enjoy it, you know. It's like playing it's like playing tennis or something. It's like when you get with a really good actor or a really situation, it's wonderful. Yeah, I was going to say it's almost as good as sex, but nothing's as good as sex. Well, I guess if both people get off, it's good. And that's kind of like what it's like, you know what I mean? Kind of making this shit up as I go along. It's being recorded too. Karen, I'm sorry, honey. That's my wife. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you for your time.
Like your boots. We have time for.
We have time for one more question.
Better be a good one.
You're up. Pressure's on.
I've never been with another man. I told you that at the table.
You know, you keep saying that. You said it a number of times.
there was that blackout in Louisville.
So it's actually my wife's question, but she's a bit shy. I hope you don't mind.
Where's your wife?
Right over there next to the Mothman kid. Yeah. So.
Dude, you're punching way above your weight.
I've been told.
You can do better. Look at this. I mean, anyway.
That's fair.
My dad said that to my first girlfriend. I brought Susan home, and he went, "You can do better than this." I apologize.
No, that's fine. Again, we can talk about it later. Up to you. So, my father-in-law, my wife's father, passed away.
The third generation, the father-in-law of your wife. Now you're asking the question.
Yeah. Well, he can't ask. He did pass away a few months ago.
Okay.
So my wife and my father-in-law, something that meant a lot to them was Outer Limits. They'd spend a lot of time watching the show.
What was it?
Outer Limits.
Outer Limits, yes.
Kind of bonding over it. So I was just wondering if you might have any insights or
I did one. I did a couple of those. I did one with Han Solo, the guy that played Han Solo.
Yeah.
Who? No. Han Solo from the Man from U.N.C.L.E. There's Elia Kuryakin and the other guy. Robert what? Volk? Oh, Vaughn, yes, Robert Vaughn. Christ, this is like 1978. Thank you. Pulled that one out of my ass. And what I remember is that I had a whole bunch of money in the stock market when we were shooting it. And that'll probably tell you when we shot it, because it was 70-something. And I had a dream, and my sister said, we woke up, she called me and said, "Have you got a lot of money in a bank somewhere or something?" I said, "I got it in the stock market. I just put a chunk of money in." She says, "I don't feel comfortable about that." I said, "Yeah, I had a dream about the dad losing the house or something." So I took it. It was a lot at that time. It was about 270 grand. So I took it out that morning. What I remember shooting that episode was Robert Vaughn passed out in the middle of the day. He got a phone call, and the New York Stock Exchange had crashed, and he lost almost all his retirement and savings and stuff. And my sister had called and saved my ass. That's what I remember about that show. So, I mean, what else do you want to know?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I mean, as far as sci-fi goes, that's pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
He was a lot of fun to work with. He was very professional.
Thank you for the information.
Okay.
Maybe just as a more general statement, I imagine most folks here are clearly here because they're fans. It's nice to kind of get story from you as a person, since mostly we just see the characters on the screen and all that. And I know kind of iconic for a lot of us growing up and all that, not to date you.
You know what's good about these Comic-Cons? I've only been doing it about a year and a half, 18 months or so, is that when you're doing theater, you get an immediate reaction every night from the audience. You do. You find out, if you're doing a line, nobody ever does the same performance over and over again. And you get different reactions from the audience and stuff. Doing film, you never get enough, like I always say, you might get a makeup artist who goes, "Oh, that made me cry." Or, a grip that's holding onto one of the flags go, "Hey, that was pretty good." That's all you ever get. Usually the director's terrified. He says, "Come on, we got to go to the next set, next." So to meet people and actually have that feedback from people that have seen stuff and seen how it's affected them and stuff, it's quite a gift. I didn't know you guys did this. I was doing, they were doing a retrospective, I think in Hamburg or somewhere a few years back. And I got up and I was talking and introducing one of the films. I think it was either visiting hours or something. And afterwards they said, "Would you like to do some signing?" And I said, "Yeah." So all these people lined up and I signed all this shit for them. And then they gave me a check for money. I didn't know they were charging people to do this shit. I just enjoyed meeting people, And thank you for showing up. It really, it's nice to know that you've had an effect and taken a place up in somebody's life, And the compliments you people have paid me over the last few days over that, it's wonderful. It really is. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like that one. Print that one, okay?
Well, we've been so lucky that you've come into our living rooms at home and our theaters, and now you got to come to our living room here at Sci-Fi Valley Con. So one more big hand for the legendary Michael Ironside.
Not legendary. No, hold on. Legends are usually dead. I'd rather have infamous. How's that?
Infamous. Okay. The infamous Michael Ironside.
Thank you, everybody. What? Oh, it's the guy in the yellow boots.
All right. Well, if you are a 3-day pass holder and you would like to go to the next panel, it's happening in about a half hour.